What it do, E-World? Crisscrossing Wires back with another video. And today's video is going to be simply Hall sensors once again. But this modification is actually hardwiring the actual Hall sensors themselves directly instead of using these PC boards that some cheaper or generic motors have in them. If you notice, all the good motors like QS and a lot of various other motors, the high quality motors, don't have these circuit boards in them. They're actually, like I said, hardwired, where the wires go directly to the legs on the transistors and isolated, with heat shrink, and basically are just the wires. And reason why that is a better alternative is because once you start repairing or replacing Hall sensors on these boards really can't take too much heat or replacement. Once you desolder one of these transistors and remove one of the legs, the traces will start peeling up from the circuit board. They just aren't as solid and effective as they were originally. You can see where, just from bending the board, the legs of this transistor has broken off, and that has actually torn the little trace that's on this PC board. Same with over here. Those little thin traces on these boards, they're really, really thin. And, you may be able to do one replacement, but the next time you go to replace it, it's probably going to peel off. Now, this one, by me reinstalling it and trying to bend it just slightly, because this has to be really flat down to the coil so it won't, the casing of the motor as it spins won't hit the back of these. Just by me pushing down on it actually weaken the traces. So I need to go back in, and I'm just going to hardwire them this time, which is what I normally do. And I should have stuck with my normal routines, but I was trying to do it quick, fast, and hurry. Anyway, how we'll start this is I found the old DIN cable here that has all the same color wires in it as Hall sensors. Obviously, the blue, green, and the yellow, and the black and the red. Red carries your 5 volts, black is your ground, obviously, and then blue, green, and yellow to each one of the Hall sensor wires. Now, I'm going to strip this down enough that I'll be able to make 3 sets of leads, because we're going to need 3 sets of leads for each Hall sensor. Let's see, that's still not long enough. So yeah, let me keep on removing a little bit at a time while trying not to rip these little wires and break the center conductors. So you gotta be kind of careful. Let's see, we'll cut it here on the opposite end. That way we don't have to pull them too far. Pull one at a time, and then that makes it a little easier.
never seen a star. The last brightest star disappeared behind the bloom years ago. In the cities of New York, towering spires and ancient buildings loomed over empty streets.
Now, mainly the red and the black for now. You don't really need a lot of the green, the blue, and the yellow. But the red and the black, you're going to need 3 sets of leads, because each transistor is going to get a red and a black, obviously. Because, as I said, each one of these transistors, you're going to be using 3. They both need 5 volts, and they both need a ground. So, let's just go ahead and make 3 sets of equal leads here.
Then Otto's son Enlil burst into the room. He said, "Father, I know how we can save the planet."
Okay, so there are 3 grounds and 3 positives. We will go ahead and let's see. First, I'll just strip a little bit off the ends. Well, actually, we're gonna tie one end of all the blacks together. So let's go ahead and strip one end about a ½ inch.
It was a long shot that would take years, but it was their only hope. The Anunnaki mobilized all their resources and devised a plan. They sent expeditions to the far reaches of the solar system, searching for planets reaching gold.
Okay, so we stripped about a ½ inch off of each one of those black wires. We're going to twist all 3 of those together. Then we're going to even them out again. So let me just cut them off so they're even. Then we're just going to, before we do anything, let me go ahead and put heat shrink on these. Piece of heat shrink, because like I said, these 3 legs are going to have to be isolated. And best way to do that is with a piece of heat shrink. If you have the little tiny pieces of heat shrink.
They called it Kai, but would later become known as Earth. Earth revolved around the sun very quickly. Nibiru was also in orbit around the star, but it took 2,600 Earth years to complete one revolution.
So we're going to put a piece of heat shrink on each one of these wires.
The timing was perfect. He urged them to depart immediately, but Enlil had more to say.
But Earth is teeming with life, including intelligent creatures, though still early in their development. These creatures are bipedal like us, but smaller than us.
Okay. What did I do with a piece of board? Alright, so because these wires are going to connect to the legs of these transistors, you only need just a little teeny, maybe about a millimeter or 2 millimeters stripped up off the ends. Just need a little bit.
Do these Earth creatures pose a threat to us in our project? They are primitive.
I didn't grab any solder.
Flesh, if you can imagine. They have no interest in gold, but they may perceive us as a threat. They have no technology beyond stone.
Stick these in our little helping hands. We're going to go ahead and tend the tips of these wires.
The council convened, the decision was made, and 300 Anunnaki and 600 Igigi were loaded onto great ships. It was time to make the journey sunward. It was time to make the journey to Earth.
Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and grab 3 transistors out of here.
crew was stunned. The planet was a vibrant blue and green with swirling white clouds. Vast glimmering oceans seemed to go on forever. The planet was full of
There's our
life
3.
on land and below.
Now, you can take a look at your original board to determine which one
He marveled at Earth's beauty,
needs
but also
ground.
its
And
sadness.
ground is the center leg on the flat side of the transistor.
But that sadness renewed their resolve. They were here for a purpose. Mine all the gold needed to heal their atmosphere. A few ships remained in orbit while others scouted the planet for a suitable landing site.
Yeah.
Eventually they
So,
settled
like I
on
tell you, these transistors have, they're directional. They have not quite a polarity, but they have to be facing the right way because they're emitter, base, and collector on one side. The ground is going to be going to the center leg on these wires, the center leg. So I have another set of helping hands here
The GG were between 12 and 15
from the
feet long,
solder station,
where humans had somewhat round skulls. The Anunnaki
and
the GG to some
we're
degree
gonna
had very
we're gonna
large and often
pull these
elongated
legs
skulls.
apart just a little
These
bit.
elongated heads have been depicted many times in ancient carvings and frescoes. The Ajiji were given only 7 days to build the great city of Eridu, to be ruled
All right.
by their son, Enki.
Now,
The Anunnaki
same way I tend to tip on. Let's see if I can get you closer down there. But anyway, those are 3 wires. 1, 2, 3.
The city was completed on time.
I'm gonna
The Ajiji
tin.
mines
I'm gonna go ahead and tin all of the legs of the transistor, even though we're not soldering on all of them right now. I'm gonna go ahead and put solder
The Ajiji
on all of
extracted
them.
gold by the ton, and ships began making round trips between Earth and Nibiru. Enki ruling in
Just to
Nibiru
get 'em going. I mean, you don't want a whole lot of solder on there, just a little bit.
to force the Ajiji to work harder and faster. Enki didn't want to abuse the workforce this way.
Okay, we're gonna grab our first wire.
The atmosphere on Nibiru was all but stripped away. He wasn't sure the gold would get back home in time. Then, against his better judgment, Enki demanded even more output from the mines. The slave masters were told to use any means necessary to get this done, including torture. Soon whispers of dissent circulated among the Ajiji,
Come on now.
and the whispers became shouts.
I have to put a little bit more.
Ajiji allowed themselves to be
I have to
tortured.
put a little bit more solder on there. I thought I had enough, but I was trying not to put too much.
Decision to rebel.
For too long have we languished under the yoke of the Anunnaki. We were born of the stars, yet condemned to the dark. It is time we seek
So you-
the light. Now,
It's very tedious job here.
and battle.
The rebellion was swift. The Ajiji were intelligent and strong.
Okay.
Tools and weapons, broke their chains, and fought the
Now we had
Anunnaki
enough
for
solder
freedom.
on
The
there.
city of Eridu became a battlefield. and
Now, as you
gold
can
mines
see,
were
let's see. Hopefully, you can see that when I put that closer to the camera.
and were put back in chains.
We got a ground going to the center leg of that transistor.
He was
Now, we got heat shrink on this wire already. So all we got to do is slide our heat shrink up.
He and the Ajiji had
You see, when we slide our heat shrink up, it's going to cover that up real nicely. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and heat that up with the heat gun. Shrink that one. Bam.
So Enki had an idea.
And we're going to do the next one.
Like hominids, they had large brains, walked on 2 legs, and can use simple tools. They weren't intelligent enough to do the work the Anunnaki
I'm going
needed,
to spread the legs apart on the next one.
which is the little genetic engineering. There were groups of hominids living in the forest around the Anunnaki cities. These were our ancestors. They were either Homo heidelbergensis or Homo erectus. Stop it. The Anunnaki took one of the
I'm going to go
hominid
ahead
males,
and tin these legs, tinning just means, you know, getting some solder on them.
Wanted to create a creature that would be intelligent,
Getting them ready
but not too intelligent.
to be soldered.
Strong, but much smaller than the Aegis.
You know,
They
putting a
were
little
engineered
light
to
coat of
make
solder
this
on
much
them.
easier to control. The first experiments were done
Go ahead and
in
put my
results were
ground wires back in the
creating a perfect being. The genetic
helping
experiments
hands I got right here. Coming back
Cyclops, Banshees,
handy
and
because
giant giants.
can't always hold these things.
Stories. The Anunnaki changed their approach. They genetically spliced their DNA with that of a hominid female. Then, rather than grow the embryo in a lab, they implanted
Bam.
it in a female. It worked. Less than a year later, a child was born. A boy.
So the next one's done. Slide that heat shrink up there
Ape-like creatures roaming the forest. They named the child Adamu.
like that. Bam.
From the dust on the ground. In ancient
One more.
Sumerian and Babylonian texts, the creation of man is described the same way.
Just
Man is
repeating the
created in the image of
process.
a god or gods by mixing the blood of a god with the clay of the earth. Ancient Egyptians had a story of man being created by mixing a tear of a god with the clay of the earth. Blood, or even a tear, would contain DNA. And clay in ancient writings doesn't mean actual clay, it refers to all life on earth. Every culture and religion has some variation of this story.
Not a coincidence.
Probably not. And there is that gap in history where hominids go from very simple primates to a very intelligent and advanced race. We're far more intelligent than any of the species before us. You'd think there'd be a slow but steady evolution of intelligence, but we don't see it. It's as if humans suddenly appeared. Dr. Ellis Silver wrote a book about this jump in evolution in his book.
All right.
Humans Are Not from Earth.
That's our last one.
Humans were brought here by aliens.
So now we got ground going to each one of our hall sensors. Alright,
Why did we lose our fur?
we're going to do the same thing with the red wires that we just did with the black.
It leads to serious diseases, especially skin cancer.
Tie all the ends together.
Mammals get sunburned. Mammals have fur or thick skin. Fish scales, even birds' feathers, all offer protection from the sun. Sure, pigs, elephants, and even reptiles can get burned, but they protect themselves by rolling around in mud, changing their skin. Now we have sunblock. What did humans do to protect their skin 100,000 years ago? Also, humans are more susceptible to illness, disease,
I
and
got
birth
to
than other animals.
pick through these little
Had cats for years. I can't remember them ever getting sick.
skinny heat shrinks. I'm getting very low. I'm going to have to order some more of this heat shrink kit. Comes in all different sizes. So we're going to put a piece of heat shrink,
Food that's bad for us.
slide it down on each one of these red wires.
We're surrounded by vegetables, nuts, and fruit, but most people would rather have a cheeseburger, fries, and a milkshake. I know I would. Back pain is another reason Dr. Silver thinks humans are not from Earth.
So yeah, when I was putting those hall sensors back in that motor, I knew I was putting a little too much pressure, trying to smash this copper board down, and I was looking at those copper traces. I figured one of them was going to pop off, and that's exactly what happened. One of them popped off. So I haven't been messing with it since then. Been kind of busy, and had to work on a battery that I was working on, so that took more priority at the moment, but we finished that up, so now it's back to this.
Continue.
The Anunnaki needed humans to procreate on their own, and they did, often. The Anunnaki guided this new race for a few hundred years. The population grew to thousands. The Anunnaki taught the new humans all the skills they needed to maintain the city, build homes, plant and harvest crops. But most importantly, the Anunnaki gave humans the skills to mine gold.
Yeah.
The Anunnaki were so pleased with their creation that they allowed humans to
We can go ahead and tend these wires, the ends of them, just like the black ones.
Yes.
Sounds familiar.
Yep. There is a lot of the Anunnaki story in every major religion in the world. But now we run into a problem. Humans didn't look like apes at all. They looked too much like Anunnaki, just small.
Alright, these are made kind of long, so
That always means trouble.
One of these women caught
cut them a little
the
shorter.
Anunnaki ruler of the same area.
Yeah, there it is. Hey, Yankee, horizon here.
Alright,
But relationships between Anunnaki and Gigi
yeah, we're gonna,
were strictly forbidden.
No, stop with the help.
Oh, come
let's
on,
see, red is the,
For your employees. Just ask Donald and Ben Affleck.
So Enki broke the law and had a relationship with a human woman. From this relationship, a child was born, a boy named Adapa. Until now, humans were very
a
simple,
red
docile
leg
beings.
is the right side. So the furthest leg to the right
To complain about. The birth of Adapa changed everything.
gets 5 volts.
Part Anunnaki. He was extremely intelligent. He married a woman named Atiti.
A titty?
Atiti.
What'd I say?
From the family of Adapa began a new line of highly intelligent humans. And they
That
started
damn
asking
hecklefish
questions.
is
They
crazy.
inherited the Anunnaki's desire for gold and for power. But there was a bigger problem. Another trait emerged in this new line of intelligent humans. A trait that would shape the future of our entire species. That new trait was violence.
Okay.
In just a few years, the first generation submissive humans
Before I slide the heat shrink this time, I'm just gonna go ahead and solder them all.
interest in mating with them, but they still were interested in mating.
And we'll do the heat shrink all at the same time.
Against the orders of the Anunnaki, these new intelligent
So on the next one,
alive.
Wake up.
red lead.
Wake up. Because you ain't ready.
Soon the city of Eridu was overrun. It could no longer sustain the human population. People were
And that's actually the collector that's getting 5 volts. Remember, these transistors are emitter-based collector. So the collector is getting 5 volts.
sending a series of plagues.
The base is getting ground.
Pestilence and then famine. After each of these plagues, the humans appealed to the god who made them, Enki. He helped ease their suffering and return the earth to its natural state. By now, the Anunnaki had enough gold to heal their planet, and the humans had become a nuisance. The Anunnaki cast them out of Eden and out of Eridu. From there, the human
All
race
right.
spread around
And
the
just
world.
like that,
But not all humans
all
lived
3 of our hall sensors got positive 5 volt red lead to it. Now I'm gonna slide the heat shrink up on that collector
Legendary
on
figures
each one.
like Samson, Hercules, and Perseus were the offspring. These humans did not produce heroes, they produced monsters. These offspring were a race of giants called the Nephilim. They were cruel and brutal. They tormented and tortured humans, and in many cases, they ate them.
People in episode.
And cities became empires. Humans conquered all 4 corners of the earth. It was a prosperous, if not decadent time. But the human race didn't know their world was about to change drastically. It first appeared in the night sky like any other star, but as the weeks passed, the object grew brighter and larger. It was their home. Nibiru takes 3,600 years to orbit the sun, but its orbit is highly
All right.
variable, so Nibiru travels
So
way beyond
now
Pluto
each one of our hall sensors got 5 volts and ground. What's left?
becomes very close to
The actual hall wire itself.
Not enough gold,
So what is that going to be?
no reason to stay on Earth anymore.
A green, a blue, and a yellow.
Most of the Earth, they did not want to be on the
So we're gonna make those about the same length.
Well, imagine every disaster
Just gonna
movie
go
you've
ahead
ever
and,
seen
and
rolled
clip
into
them
one
in
catastrophic event.
Yeah, okay, that's
our helping hands there.
Way worse.
yeah, but what about the
Go ahead and
humans?
Oh, after Nibiru passes
well, before I strip them,
humans left.
let me put some heat shrink on each one. Hopefully I got enough for each one of these. Let's see, there's one.
Was startled awake. The sun was just
Boy, I might just make it.
The animals always got restless at sunrise, eagerly awaiting their breakfast. But the animals were
2,
more than restless.
3. All right.
Crazy.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and put a piece of heat shrink on each one of these green, blue, and yellows.
Farmer was shocked. His horses were literally screaming to get out of their stalls. One broke its neck trying to break free. His sheep were running in unison like a flock of birds, making a large circle within the pen. Occasionally, one would break off and throw itself against a stone corral. A few injured sheep limped around the perimeter. At least 2 were dead. It was madness. The farmer didn't know what caused the sudden alarm, but he was sure it had something to do with the object in the sky. His village first noticed it months ago when a new light appeared in the night sky. It looked like a star, as the sky gods called it. But the sky gods were gone now. After the new star appeared, they boarded great chariots that took them to the heavens. His people were on their own now. The object no longer looked like a star. It was almost the size of the moon. And like the moon, the farmer could see features on the great disk. Clouds were visible. He could see mountains and oceans. But unlike the moon, the object was visible during the day, constant and oppressive.
Man, I really wish I would have went ahead and did this the first time. But you know, like I said, sometimes you can reuse them boards and it's fine. You normally you can get one use out of them at least. That time I didn't get it. All right, so we back. Had to put another battery in the GoPro.
The farmer covered his ears, but it was no help. What he couldn't hear, he could feel. He looked to the west. There was the grassy hill with the large olive tree. As far as he knew, the tree had been there forever. The graves of his parents and their parents were in the shade of that tree.
He's a little long, so
Then from over that ridge,
cut him.
he saw what seemed to be mountains of fire. Flaming stones as big as houses were launched.
Might have to put a little bit more solder back on them. Let's do that. Because it looked like I cut off most of the solder.
Before he knew it, the blue sky had turned black. The morning sun had disappeared. But at least he didn't have to look at the great disk. He finally got to his feet and
Alright,
staggered toward
now,
his house. All he could hear
last leg.
but he knew his wife was still alive. If he could just get to her, maybe he could.
It's
A hot coal landed beside him, the kind he'd seen in ovens at the market. It was bright red and aflame. Then another coal landed nearby, this one a bit larger. They hissed as they burned in the tall grass. He then realized the rocks of fire that were launched into the heavens were coming home. Soon stones made of fire were crashing all around him, and they were getting bigger.
too much
The barn disappeared
too much
into the
solder.
fire. On the ground, he saw the shadows. The stones were definitely getting larger, and they were bigger than houses, much bigger. The farmer stopped when one of the large shadows was him. He knew what was next. He said a prayer as the faint shadow in the grass grew larger and darker. He heard an approaching scream as the shadow spilled across his entire farm. Then everything went black. The fisherman was working frantically. The great disk in the sky was shaking the earth, and buildings were crumbling as if made of sand. He lashed ropes around a wooden pike to hold his boat in place. The waves were growing bigger, and his boat was thrashing violently. He hoped his knot would hold. Occasionally, a brick made of fire would drop from the sky and land in the water with an angry hiss. The fisherman was more confused than frightened. The morning was clear and peaceful, and the fish were biting. He was going to make a fortune at the market, but the storm had cut his trip short. Now a blanket of darkness covered the earth, and the wind was howling. Soon the wind's howl became a roar, and rain thrashed so violently
It's our
that
last,
left painful welts in his skin.
our last wire, the green.
Or was it just minutes? He couldn't tell.
Looks like we're gonna have to put some more solder on this green wire.
Some survivors. They were making their way to the caves nearby. The tremors made it slow going, but the fisherman was sure they'd make it. A gust of wind felt like a shove that knocked the fisherman off his feet. But the shove continued and continued. The wind was so strong, the man was pinned to the ground.
Okay.
He was painfully pushing
Alright, let's slide our heat shrink up on all of these legs.
the scale. He was being pelted with sand and debris, and boats that weren't tied down sailed through the air, exploding into splinters when they landed. He wants to get home that
Okay, now that all of our hall sensors have all the wires they need, their hall sensor wire, a red and a ground, positive and a ground, all three. Now I'm going to put another piece of heat shrink over top of all three legs together. And remember to leave the tip of the transistor sticking out, because that part still needs to fit into the hub motor. Alright, so you see we're putting a piece of heat shrink over top of all three legs,
thousands of fish wriggled and flopped in the sand where the ocean used to be. They thought this would be the greatest feast
and as close to the transistor as possible.
not a single one. With the water
Now normally most places don't do this final one over all three, but I'm doing that because that makes for better. Better fitment. Keep those legs from pulling apart. Okay, there it is. Now you have your three hall sensors hardwired. We'll go ahead and cut these green, blue, and yellow wires the same length as our positive and ground. We don't need all this extra. So this is our hall sensor setup. Now, all we got to do now is connect these to the wires in our motor, and we're going to put some heat shrink on these. So once we make our connections, we can cover them up, seal those. Red one for the red, and we'll use yellow heat shrink on the hall sensor wires. Is that going to be big enough? Yeah, it seems like it.
But sometimes, like this visit, Nibiru soared between the Earth and the Moon at 40,000 miles per hour. The Anunnaki knew the Earth would be devastated. In the months prior, there was
Okay,
among the elder Anunnaki.
so that is our hall sensor setup, and I'll show you how that gets mounted. Okay, this is our motor. This is our hall sensor wires. Obviously, we got red 5 volts, black ground, then our green, blue, and yellow. All we're going to do now is connect our little hall sensor setup we just made to the hall sensor wires there. Then we're going to insert the hall sensors themselves back into the slots where they go. You know, they have the little slots around the stator, and we're going to put them in the same order that they're in all the time. And the order is normally yellow, blue, green. Yellow, blue, green is the order. So that is the way these hall sensors will be mounted in the motor. Yellow, blue, green. You still have a yellow, a blue, and a green. You know what I'm saying? So that's the order that they get mounted in. Yellow, blue, green. Alright. So pretty simple. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to finish that and show you what that looks like when it's done. Because I'm going to have to strap it, you know, wire tie 'em in there, put some glue on it, some hot glue and all that. But yeah, that's it. Hall wires, hall sensor wires, hardwired.
including Neanderthal.
Okay.
But they all differ from
There we have our connection of our green, blue, and yellow hall sensors.
crossbreeding or years of evolution.
We'll go ahead and stick them in the stator and glue them down with some hot glue. Strap it up with some wire tie. Call it a day. Peace. And there you have it. After the hall sensors have been stuck back in place, that is hardwired hall sensors. Much better and more reliable than those circuit boards, for sure. Peace. And we out.